Welcome YouTube to another Eagle Auto Repair video. Hi, I'm Vince from Eagle Auto Repair, and we're here today. We have this 2007 Scion. Originally these are made by the Toyota Motor Corporation, and it's kind of a unique little vehicle, 4-cylinder, 16 valve, kind of a cool little vehicle, a little sporty, but this one has an alternator issue. It's got a lot of miles on it, and these are interesting because Toyota actually, for this vehicle at a very high mileage, they had an oil usage issue, and they completely rebuilt the engine for this customer. So I find that pretty interesting. But it's, you know, Toyota makes a pretty good product. A lot of people love them. I remember years ago in the 70s when they first started coming over, and a good friend of mine had one when we were teenagers. And, you know, it turned out to be a pretty cool car. A little Corolla, we drove it everywhere. Didn't cost us hardly anything. We could put a couple dollars of fuel in it and drive it all day. Obviously the gas price was a little less back then, but they did get good mileage. They kind of took a ribbing when they first came over here in the US with the foreign cars, because they couldn't keep up with the big V8s and all the Motor City muscle back then. But it's a cool little car. Has an alternator issue, so we're going to go on ahead and replace the alternator. The charging system is failing. It's just running off the battery, and it will basically quit once the battery voltage is depleted. So we're going to get set up to shoot this and get you in here close so you can see it. We're just going to put an alternator on this real quick. We diagnosed it yesterday, and so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started on this one. So here's a look from underneath. We're going to be taking that belt off. That's our next step. So we've removed the cover there, a little plastic shield that goes on the bottom here. And we're going to be taking the tensioners right here. Good idea to take a picture of the belt configuration so that when you put it back on there, you can remember which way it goes real easy. Some of them have lost their sticker or don't have a belt schematic or diagram to show you which way it goes on. So we're going to take that belt off, tensioner loose. That'll be the next step to get this alternator job going. All right, so we have that belt loose from the bottom on the tensioner. Now we're just going to kind of roll it out here and get it a little bit out of our way without disturbing it too much. So we can put it back. We have the negative battery cable is disconnected. Always find it good practice to disconnect negative battery cable first, because you don't want to be able to have that battery hooked up and you touch your positive when you're putting a wrench on it to a ground and then have an issue with that. So now we've got this connector right here that we want to take off, which is a 4-pin right in the top. That's got your voltage regulator. And then we've got our B+. We're going to get that connection off real quick. Grab a little 10mm bolt here. Loosen that 10mm. That takes care of our electrical. We'll take this little 10mm out. That holds that wiring harness bracket so we can move it a little bit out of the way. And we've got that other rest of this harness. Looks like it runs down to the AC compressor. We might be able to sneak it out of there. We're going to give it a try. We've got a couple attaching bolts to take off still. The main one right here. And should be one more, but let's see what I'm finding. And it's in a really bad spot. So let's just see. Trying to get my hand, I can kind of feel it, but I can't see it. So this ABS unit, the HCU, is in the way, and but I can kind of put my finger on it when I come in this way down there. So, and like I said, I'm thinking it's a 12. We're going to try this one. It's a little bit shorter. Maybe I can get lucky here. It's just kind of in an odd spot because you can't really see it. So So you kind of got a feel for it. I actually found it with the mirror when I first got in there. And let's see. Okay, that's going to be a tough one. They give me a hard time. Let's see if I can cheat my way in here with the light. Should be right about there. Okay, I think I'm on it. Okay, got it to break loose. So that's a good sign. Now that it's loose, I may be able to put the socket on and turn it out. It's just in a tough spot. So let's just see. I'm turning it. So that's a good sign. And this one's probably threaded right into the body. So try to run that out. I can maybe get my other paw down in there now. It just doesn't want to work. So, you know, shred the glove. We'll try a different one. Got this other style of gloves that are a little bit different. They got a good grip type surface on them. Yeah, I can get a hold of it better. Just with my fingertips is what I'm turning. And again, definitely one of the challenges of some of these vehicles. They are just so hard to access, some of this stuff. You know, we used to have a joke at the dealership when we'd run into these kind of situations and say, yeah, they engineered this bolt and built a car around it. And quite often, that's how it goes. Yep, so you have to kind of be a contortionist sometimes in order to get the prize. A little bit at a time. It's getting loose now. Alright, I think I got it to give it up. And there it is. There's the bolt with the washer. And that should be all that's holding it. You can see it's loose and moving now. Alright, so we got that wiring harness. We're going to try to cheat that out a little bit. It's got that AC circuit running down there. And should be able to just pick it right up out of here if we get it in the right spot. Alright, and there it is. There's our alternator. Alright, so we're going to check to make sure that pulley is the same. Sometimes you have to change the pulley out. Serpentine belt, I haven't really looked at the new one yet. The boys went over to the auto parts store and picked it up, but let's get that ready and see if we can't get her back in here. Alright, so here's our replacement alternator, and as I said, we did check the pulleys for grooves. We have the same kind of pulley on. It's clocked right, which means everything's in the same position as the original one. And we can go ahead and see if we can sneak it down in there and get it hooked up. So we'll try to start with that large bolt first. And that would be this one right here. Get that one threaded through there and started. And then the trick is going to be getting in the right position to catch that hard to get bolt. So as I said, you have to be a little bit of a contortionist. Patience is really the key here because you can get frustrated, and I've even worked with some guys that get so frustrated they throw their tools. I've never really been one of those kind of guys, but it can be aggravating. So let's see if we can get lucky and sneak it in here. And again, one of the challenges of this is you can't really see it. So you're kind of working blind here. Yeah, that seems to be working, so try a different angle. Okay, that's where I want to be. You kind of just have to let it slide down a little bit until you feel the bolt fall into the place where it needs to be. And then again, it's one of those things I learned a long time ago is whenever you're bolting something together where more than one fastener, multiple fasteners are required, get them all started first, because if you tighten one down and you're not in the right spot, chances are you'll cross thread the other one, and that's bad. So this one's got that sleeve in there. As we pull this one in, it'll get tight and take away all that wiggling that you're seeing there. Alright, so this one here, we could speed this up a little bit if we wanted to use the air tools, but it's a lot louder, so we'll just go ahead and use the hand ratchet. And then as we start to get this one tight, there's a sleeve in that alternator that will pull in. So you want to be a little bit gentle with it so that it slides through there pretty good. That will kind of center it. Okay, we're going to call that good. And we're going to get our wiring hook back up real quick. We've got that little 10 millimeter. It holds this down. And these things are usually really important because that wiring harness has got to be in that right position, otherwise you're at risk of contact with the I kind of like this option. They have this terminal on here which is unique to Toyota. You won't find this style too much. GM has one that's a little bit maybe with one tab, but this is kind of unique because it's got the two tabs, which, you know, you're locking in there, and I kind of like that because electrical connections that don't cinch down can be a problem. So kind of a cool little plug for Toyota there, even though I'm really not a Toyota guy. Alright, so then we have our 4-pin. I want to get that connected. And this one over here. I'm kind of liking how that one is missing the bracket, although it actually probably could come around right there. I think was what the engineers maybe really had in mind originally, but I don't like that either. So we're just going to get this out over behind the AC line so it's out of the way. We're going to call that good. So we'll get the battery cable hooked up, we'll get the belt back on it, and then we're going to be doing a charging system test just to verify the repair. So hang with us for a couple minutes. We have the belt put on, we got the battery reconnected. I got the meter on it, we're going to check it. We're reading about 11.87. The battery's a little bit low, but it should start it. I know it started it to pull it in here. Fully charged battery is going to be 12.6. But let's start it up and see what we got. Alright, so I can tell you I already like the sign I'm seeing. The battery light is out, which is good. And I'm looking at the meter here, and I'm seeing 13.7. That means we're charging. That alternator is definitely charging our battery, and we're going to call this one good. So alright, so that came out pretty good. We kind of knew going in what we had here. Again, the customer had a battery that he just replaced. He was driving the car. It kind of quit on him, left him stranded. And you can see just in that short time, I'm looking at that meter, we talked about fully charged batteries, 12.6. Just that short time running that battery, we're already at 12.3. So it's instantly putting the charge back into that battery. So again, the voltage regulator on these alternators is integral. Basically, most of the way these systems work, it's a pulse width modulated signal from the PCM to tell the voltage regulator to charge. And so once that happens, it sees the need for a charge, and it will full field the alternator, and the alternator will then produce the voltage that's needed to make this car run. You know, a lot of people think when you start your car, it's just the battery. The battery's really only role is to start the car, and then the alternator basically is bringing the voltage up. As the demand increases for voltage, the alternator output will be anywhere from 13.3 to around 14.7 is normal. And by the same token, in some cases we see an overcharge, which can also be bad. So if the alternator was overcharging, we could also see a problem. A lot of times it's going to set a code, especially on late model vehicles. Again, this one's 2007, not quite as sophisticated as some of the newer ones. But you know, you might see that in the later model cars where you've got you know, an overcharge for whatever issue. And so they're pretty sophisticated, the new systems, but you got to have a good 12-volt battery. And you know, here in Michigan, we have winter right around the corner. So we're getting into September, going into that fall season. Always good to have your battery checked. 12.6 is fully charged. Want to make sure the cable ends are clean. This one's really nice. We got a new cable end here. Connections have to be good. All those things are real important. So I just want to thank you again for joining me. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, I'm going to put my email address in the video so that you can see that. Email me questions. I love questions, technical questions. Like to help you out. Again, this is Eagle Auto Repair. We want to thank you for joining the video today. And think about hitting the subscribe button. Hopefully, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. We're trying to bring you quality video, and we just want to help you out. I love doing it and been doing it for a long time. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the dislike. If there's something you don't like about today's video, let me know about it. I can only get better from your comments and the things I receive back from you. So yeah, Eagle Auto Repair again, as we always say, have a blessed day. Thanks for joining us.